discovery call is where the money is at. Oftentimes, sales professionals and sales leaders mess up when it comes to the disco, overthinking it or just making it way too complicated. This episode, we're going to simplify it. My guest today is Chet Lovegren, and he's going to share a 15-minute strategy with 4 simple questions that's absolutely a game changer. We're even going to role play it. Check it out. Hey, everyone. Welcome to another great episode of the Sales Evangelist Podcast. I'm your host, Donald C. Kelly, the Sales Evangelist. And I'm so excited for another great episode. I'm so excited to be here with you today. And on this episode, we have the one and only Chet Lovegren. And Chet is the sales doctor. He helps organizations fix their broken processes and help their team to be able to improve overall. I had a great conversation with Chet. And in this discussion today, in this episode, you're going to hear 4 questions that he uses in his discos. It makes his discos so much more smaller, simpler, and so much more effective. You're going to love those. We're going to role play too. So we're not just giving you theory. You're going to see it in action so you can take it and apply it. If this is your first time listening to this podcast, it's designed to do 2 things. 1, help you to 3 to 5x sales pipeline with quality opportunities. And 2, help you to close twice as many deals. Oftentimes we overcomplicated the process. We want to simplify this for you. Check out our sales mastermind if you're interested in learning how you can go about practicing and improving your sales game. We have more information down below in the show notes. As we go ahead and dive in, you'll get a chance to learn about Chet. You hear about how he's doing amazing stuff. And at the very end, he's going to tell you how he went mini viral. It's pretty dope. You're going to love it. Chet, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Donald. Excited to be here.
Oh, I'm super pumped for this episode. Sometimes you get excited for guests because of the content and so forth. Yes, that is true with all of our episodes. But today, not only the content, but the fact that we're going to do some role play.
Yeah. I know you're going to be tough on me too. You're going to give me an objection. I'm going to be like, oh, crap. I got to figure out how to handle this.
No, man, we want people to just have some fun, man, and to get, because, sometimes you find, you and I both seen this, right? When people go on a show and they'll give a lot of theory and, it doesn't quite mesh. Like I might get off the podcast. I'm like, that theory makes sense. But then I try to go do it. And I'm like, well, how do you bring that up? How do you transition that part? So I'm just looking to have fun with that. But I would love for our folks to get a chance to learn a little bit more about you. I bragged a little bit in the teaser, but I'm not as good as you about bragging about you. Tell us a little bit more about what you do, man.
Yeah, I mean, you're a master salesperson. You probably did it better than I can. You're going to hear a lot of marketing jargon in the next 30 seconds. No, let's put it this way. So consulting is a broad term, but if we were at a party together and we're having a couple drinks and we met, you said, Chet, what is it that you do? I'd basically tell you in a nutshell, companies that are reliant on sales to drive their growth are really good at hiring people. There's no shortage of candidates. They're really bad at making those people effective and having them stick around longer than 18 months. And that's what I help with. There's a couple different ways we do that, but in a nutshell, that's what the sales doctor does. Any company that's relying on sales for their growth, we help them make their people better, make their people stick around. Now, somebody might say, Chet, what company isn't relying on sales for their growth? I work with a lot of commercial insurance brokers that have incredible referral networks. I work with companies that have incredible channel and partnership networks. They're not relying on people that are cold calling, people that are speed to lead on inbound. They're not doing a lot of that. They have stuff basically dropping in their hands. I mean, think about IBM. IBM's not out here cold calling people, right? And then if you submit a lead, they want to know what your budget is for the expected project before they'll even pick up the phone and schedule a time with you. Yep. So, you break it down to those kind of companies. So as you can imagine, a lot of startups, mid-market and SaaS, commercial insurance, hospitality, outside sales companies that we work with, essentially making them successful and making their people great.
Well, I like that. So we're going to put a link back down in the show notes so folks can get a chance to go and connect with you, especially on social like LinkedIn and so forth.
Cool.
To learn more. I want to take a second and go into this contextually. Like we are trying to figure out the disco. My philosophy here, and people have heard me say this over and over again, is that the deal closes in a disco. Like if you can do an effective disco, that's where the close begin, not when you get to the very end and all of a sudden you try to give a discount or try to do some old school Ben Franklin close or garbage or dumb stuff like that. It's like you got to be able to
close. What's that? I got to hear this one.
I want to know it, bro. It's like you hear these in like some of these old like 90s and 80s, like closing tactic. We'll try to Ben Franklin. Like, bro, what is that?
Yeah,
I think there's some psychology to it, but again, it's like buyers are way more intelligent these days than just like a tactic is not going to cause me to close. You're not going to say, well, if you do it, you got to do it now because you're going to miss the discount. Like that's not going to cause me to close as much as somebody who can. I'm more than willing to pay more for somebody who understands my problem better than I do and can help me to recognize that. It's like, bro, you solved this problem already. Let's go. And that can be done in a disco. But how do we get there? How do we get to that point? And that's where I want to go with this conversation, to hear some of your ideas. And I know there's many different questions we can ask, but specifically we want to tackle 4 of those questions that you know, the perfect questions to ask in the discovery. And we'll highlight 4 of them from you. Does that sound fair enough?
Yeah. And I'll give a brief 1-minute context and then we can role play. I want to piggyback off what you said. Go. I've always been a firm believer. Your deal is made in discovery. Everything else after that is a validation of the value that you sold. And specifically, you talk about sales tactics. Hey, man, millennials and Gen Z are 60% of the workforce by 2025. Millennials and Gen Z don't buy the same way boomers and Gen X do, who are okay with sales conversations. I'm actually working with a company right now who sells to a lot of millennials because it's restaurant operators, startups. These people do not love sales conversations and they can smell it. So you go in there trying to bant them. You go in there trying to Brian Tracy them. It's not going to work, right? So the 4 questions are the 4 questions you can ask in any discovery. One thing we talked about when we were talking about doing this episode is we don't want to just do theory. We want to do practice. So I'm happy to role play it. You can plug and play these anywhere, whether you're selling to SaaS, whether you're selling commercial insurance, whether you're selling pest control to homeowners, whether you're knocking on people's doors, right?
That's my world, man. Door-to-door security. I did that for a while in college for one summer.
About once a month, I get a door-to-door person because I'm in LA that'll knock on the door and give a really good pitch. And I'm just like, have you ever thought of joining sales? Because you wouldn't have to walk around as much and you could be really good in this area. But the majority of them, it's interesting to see their pitch and how they do it. But yeah, so the 4 questions, just for context, and then we'll give a little scenario and you and I can role play it, are:
let's go.
Number 1, identify challenges, but not in a way where you say, Donald, what's got you on the call today? That's lazy. You're the expert in their industry.
What about this one? What keep you up at night? Like, somebody had the audacity to say that to me once, and I was like, this is so over already.
So great. You're not an expert and you don't know what I'm normally dealing with. So identify challenges. We do that using a thing I call the perfect world scenario, which is a plug and play. I talk to people all day long. They usually talk to me because they're struggling with 1, 2, or 3. If everything stayed the same, but one area had to change, what would it be? We'll role play that, right? But you're basically saying, I'm the expert. I know what people like you are dealing with. You're prompting them like you prompt AI to give you a controlled response so you can dig deeper. Because most of the time, people won't tell you what their challenges are anyway.
No.
Once you understand their challenges, you want to understand the context. Why is that a challenge? It's very simple to do that. Then you want to understand their level of expertise. How are they solving for it? Because that tells you how much heavy lifting you're going to have to do, how much you can leverage that over them, a little bit of that challenger sale mentality. And then the 4th one is establish implications. And that'll help you answer the age-old question every sales leader till the end of time will want to know, which is the why me, why us, why now? Remember that? Like, that was probably one of the first things you learned in sales. That'll never change because that's motivation and urgency, but establishing implications will help that out. So for reference, we work with a lot of SaaS companies. Let's keep it basic. I'm sure you have a lot of people that sell SaaS. I sell sales training and coaching basically to other SaaS leaders. So Donald, let's say we're hopping into a disco. I had a rep that scheduled this call. I have a little bit of context, but it was an outbound call, more to just set the appointment so I can do discovery. I'm calling with the sales doctor. You're a VP of sales at a software company. Lights, camera, action. Right? All right.
Let's go.
Donald, how you doing today? Good to see you.
I'm doing well, man. Thanks, Chet. Appreciate the the outreach and to chat about this.
Yeah, me too. We're going to hop right in because obviously no rapport building. But so Donald,
sure.
Typically, you can imagine I talk to a lot of VPs of sales, and I know that one VP of sales at one company looks different from a VP of sales at another company. But when they come to the sales doctor, they're interested in learning more about what we do. It's because they're struggling in 1 of the 3 key areas, even in a perfect world. Now that could be either we're having a hard time getting people to pick up the phone, whether it's to create new opportunities or follow up with current ones. We're having a hard time getting access to decision makers, and our deals are typically dying once the proposal goes out because we don't have the right person getting viewership of the proposal and signing on the dotted line. Sure. Or number 3, I just don't even know what's going on. I don't know which way is up, which way is down, or what's even happening with my team. And maybe that's lack of reporting. Maybe that's lack of process. Maybe that's lack of frontline management and coaching. If everything in your process stayed the same, but one of those areas had to change over the next 12 months, what would it be?
Oh man, I'd definitely say it's getting the decision makers. We got a lot of young folks on our team, and came out of BDR world into got them some advance into some AE positions, and I think it's a little confidence issue there, but that's something we've been working on.
All right, so I'm going to hit pause on the role play for
Perfect.
everybody that's listening. I don't even have to ask my context question. You just gave me the context right there. You see what I'm saying? So, like,
dang it, I made it too easy.
Why do people spend 45 minutes going? Why do people spend 30 minutes on a call and then go 5 minutes over every time they do discovery? It's like a massive box checking exercise.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Okay, so now I know a couple different things. I might ask a little clarifying question on the context. So we'll go back to the role play, but you basically just answered the context question for me. And I know this mic picks up a lot, and I hear my kids decide that now is the perfect time to play tag. So apologies to anybody listening. These clips are going to be hilarious. People are going to wonder if I'm like harboring children or something, even though everybody knows my schedule. So here we go. Back into the role play.
Let's go.
So Donald, totally hear you. And I love, first and foremost, as someone whose first leadership position was in SDR management, that you're promoting SDRs from within. I love that. But as you called out, it can be challenging to ask the tough questions, get access to the right decision makers. What does that promotion path look like when you've identified a good SDR or BDR is ready for that promotion path, or that you're looking at a less tenured AE to fill an AE role? Does the SDR manager have any part to play in that promotion path and how they're onboarded? Is there a period of onboarding while they're still an SDR before they become an AE to go through discovery training? Or is it, hey, you're an AE now, day one, we're starting discovery training, picking up where you left off in the SDR world? What does that look like?
We're not a perfect environment. We're a small company as well. And, one of the things that we've seen is to be the critical component with that is trying to get them to go as quick as possible, right? So from our team standpoint, we get them, we have their direct manager, to do a little bit of training with them. But we have them go on a little bit more calls with the AE, just kind of learn from watching, and then we throw them out into the sea to get them start going as much as possible. We try to do some call recordings. We have Gong, listen to them and try to do some coaching there. But again, small team, you got a lot of hats that you're wearing, and trying to get them ramped up is we need to hit numbers.
All right, so pause the role play again.
Good.
So now you just started answering my third question around solutions.
I'm too much of a sales guy. I understand you.
Yeah. You give me, most prospects are not this nice, but yeah, you're giving me a lot of information around what solutions or strategies are you putting in place to solve this. You're giving me some of your level of expertise and what you feel works. I'm obviously going to dig deeper, but I already have a little bit of an understanding. Small team, a lot of self-paced learning, a lot of ride-alongs with other AEs who may or may not be good. Group learning is not always, learning by seeing others do is not always the best, because AE might not feel like giving a crap that day. So it's like, how do you control that attitude behind what they're doing and why they're doing in that enablement? Yeah. So we'll go back into the role play. So Donald, that's great. And I love that it's kind of like a community effort. Hey, you're going to do a couple ride-alongs with some AEs. You trust your SDRs enough to go do some self-paced learning and be effective. That said, other than that, like, what solutions or strategies are you putting in place to make sure that you're effective, or what have you done in the past that has worked well that you're trying to implement here?
One of the best things that we have done is, early on, I had more time. So, I did some more coaching with them. And then when we brought on like a frontline manager, she did some stuff with them, BDR manager. So she did some work specifically with them. But again, there's just been a little tidal wave, a little improvement. So we are a little busier than we had initially planned, and bad habits crept in, and we just don't do a lot of that individualized coaching, working with them. So that's something we were doing and we're not doing anymore in the process.
Gotcha. Let me be upfront with you. How much is one deal worth to your team? What's your ACV?
Yeah,
or ADS, some people call it, average deal size.
Yeah, the average deal size we're looking at is probably about 15K. So,
and you have how many reps? You said small team. How many AEs?
Small teams. We have 4 AEs, and we have right now a class of 4 BDRs, and 2 of them are getting promoted.
Perfect. So you're going to have 6.
Yeah.
Awesome. So it's okay. I love where this is going, and let me share why. When I think about getting access to decision makers from my experience, both as a successful account executive, then someone who successfully moved into sales leadership before going out on my own. I found that with some of the strategies that I have, some of the ways that we can solve on-demand coaching, since you don't have enough time, we can handle promotion path transition since your frontline manager doesn't have enough time. And we can also handle quality control, meaning when my SDRs that are new are hopping onto calls, they're going to get the best experience. We know that sometimes AEs wake up on the wrong side of the bed. We want to be able to control who they're listening to, what they're listening to, and how the information is delivered. We want to give them actual practice time. You don't practice on prospects. I can deliver all that for you. And in this capacity, when I typically implement a program like this, we see that reps, even your tenured AEs who might need a refresher course, can win one extra deal a month. If we're talking about 6 account executives over the course of 1 month, that's $90K. You can do the math on what that looks like in terms of a year. We're over 1.2 million. What is that worth to you? If I wrote you a check for $1.2 million, would you be saying sign me up, or would you say, hey, I need a couple months to think about sales training and coaching?
If you get me 90,000 in a month, I'll take you to Vegas.
I love it. Well, I'm going to hop into a slide deck here that I have. We'll walk through a couple high level pieces of information, then we'll talk turkey. Sure. Does that sound good?
Sounds like a plan.
Okay. There's your discovery. Now that's my discovery because I don't have a software that I'm selling. So my discoveries are a hybrid discovery presentation with what we can do and then a quote. But ultimately, I just established implications at the end there.
Yeah.
What's one deal worth to you every month? Because I know I solve deals. I can get you one more deal a month per rep. 90K is 1.2 million a year. If I could give you a check for 1.2 million, would you say, Chet, let's do it? Or would you say, Chet, call me back in a few months when this is a priority, right? Is it a priority now? What's the implication? The implication of not solving this right now is 1.2 million a year. I don't know many VPs of sales who can say no to 1 million a year. Right. So think about whatever. So it's a plug and play, right? Like think about what is the one metric that you can solve for? What does that number look like based on some of those qualifiers, which the AE and the SDR thing I would have had qualified by a BDR. So that's why I was picking it up there. But think about what that one qualifier is, that metric that you can show them. A great example, I'm working with a restaurant inventory management company. Their promise is we can lower cost of goods by 3 to 5%. So I ask, hey, what's your annual revenue? Because I know what COGS are based on that. And then how many hours a week are you spending on all the things outside of servicing guests, inventory management, cost control, recipe management, ordering, invoices, all that stuff. 15 hours. Okay. And I know it's about $25 an hour for an ops person to do that. So when we combine that calculator, I'm like, hey, we don't need to take a look at the software if you would say no to an extra $150,000 a year back in your pocket. But if you're saying, hey, you want to write me a check for 150 grand? No, thank you. Then we can call it quits here. But if you feel that that's something you want to solve, we can definitely talk about a demonstration of what makes sense. You don't need 30 minutes for discovery, man. You need 15 minutes. And granted, you're talking about enterprise cybersecurity. I get it. RFPs, RFIs, government, SLED. There's some variance to this, but for the majority of sellers that I meet, this is their world. And we're spending 30 minutes on a discovery call, box checking exercises, following BANT. Look, did I ask you about your budget?
No.
Do you know what it is I really do at an in-depth level? Did I demonstrate that I know everything about your org chart? No, none of that stuff makes sense. I quantified the money. If you don't want to work with me, you're basically saying $1 million a year in extra revenue. No, thanks.
Yeah.
And at the cost of what I charge, that's 100x on your investment. You know what I mean? So
And what I love about this is obviously you prepped me. You prepped me in the sense of going through a challenge that I might have. Me being a VP of sale, you got a chance to get some real good context. You definitely didn't sound like a novice, somebody who's just just running through emotion, someone who understands the challenges, understand me. And it intrigued me enough to pique my interest to continue the dialogue. And then especially when you got to the point about like those, you called it the established implication. Like when you got to that point, then it was like even more of intriguing. I didn't need to know that how detailed you were going to do it. You were going to show me that now in the slides per se, like walk me down that path. My wife and I, we just bought a car for my wife, right? An SUV.
Nice.
And one of the things that the rep that we were talking to beforehand on a phone call, she was killing it too, bro. We're gonna bring her on the podcast. I know she's not a B2B, but she does some stuff that's like the principles apply. But one of the things that she did so well was the fact that she said we can do this in 3 steps, just simple 3 steps, 1, 2, 3. And she explained this 3. It didn't go in depth. She was just like, "We'll get this, get see how much you qualify for, blah blah blah," and then bam. And in my mind, I was like, it's not going down, sitting down all day at a car dealership. It's not going to, a random online website where I don't get a chance to talk to anyone. So it was a good mixture in between. And she gave me some stuff to prep beforehand, and it was literally a 1, 2, 3 process, and it was out the door. And I think that puts, again, this idea that you are the expert as a seller, and you can guide me, and I don't need to know all the deets. I just need to know enough to be able to make an informed decision. And that's what I loved about that last implication part.
It's so many other things too. Pattern interrupt. You're not sitting and sweating in a hot box all day long like you've always done when you buy a car. So now you trust her more. Time, opportunity costs. Why do we want to make it harder than it needs to be? Let's get them in and out the door. Let's qualify them. That's part of discovery too, is there's a little qualification that goes on. Why would I never understood that, why car dealerships would want one person working on a deal for 7 hours at a time? Why not go try to work 3 deals in 6 hours?
It doesn't make sense.
I get deal inertia. So they're here, they'll make a decision, but then they walk away feeling like they got taken advantage of, like they were in a casino and they won a bunch of money on blackjack and lost it all on craps. You know what I mean? It just doesn't make sense to me. In software, we do the same thing. Let's have a 15-minute pre-qual call. Then let's have a 30-minute discovery. Then let's do an hour-long demo. When you get into a technical 30-minute demo after that, and now you're in proposal stage 4 weeks later, and you don't even have the right person making the decision. You haven't quantified the value. So I think it can be a lot more simpler than we make it. I think as long as you answer those 4 questions, you can move forward. Like, I'm at a point where I'm doing discos in 15 minutes. I'm recommending people do discos in 15 minutes. And I'll tell you what, for all your listeners, if anybody's like, well, what would the perfect world scenario look like for me? Or what questions, how would we use the questions in my business? If you reach out to me, I'll create you something absolutely for free. You tell me what you're dealing with. You tell me about your ICP, your buyer. I'll create a little mini flow chart that you can easily implement in a discovery call. Because some of, like, again, those pre-qualification questions, those are some things you can weave into your initial conversation, or you can have on a form when they're submitting for interest on the inbound. Those are some things you can do ahead of time. How many, in mine, it's like, how many reps do you have? Then understanding like how many managers are managing each rep if we go in depth. But you said small team, 6 reps, 4 BDRs. I'm imagining it's you and an SDR manager, right? So it's not, I can make some of those assumptions because I'm the expert though, right? We got to be
exactly. You've done this before.
Yeah. So we're making it more complicated than it needs to be. And because of that, people aren't winning deals because they're following some LinkedIn guru who's giving you the 15 steps to the 5-quadrant sale, so they can justify their $100,000 consulting price point. It's not that hard. It's, we're out here, we just need to give people some M&Ms, and everybody's out here trying to sling Godiva. Like, let's back it up a little bit. You're not as important as you think. Back it up. Gosh. Just provide immediate value, quantify it, and then say, if it makes sense, then let's do a demo. Let's talk numbers. Let's look at a presentation. Let me show you how we've helped. If it makes sense, if you're open to seeing how I can give you Alex Hormozy, give someone a number that they would feel stupid saying no to. I'm abridging what he says, but that's in a nutshell. Give someone an offer they feel stupid saying no to. So good they feel stupid saying no to. Yeah, you're not going to say, no, I don't want to make another $1 million. Yeah, VP of sales right now in SaaS is going to say no to an extra $1 million. Give me a break.
Yeah, if they do, again, they're not going to be that. They're not into what you're saying in the first place, and may not necessarily be the best candidate to work with. So 15
Great.
minutes. Let me go find another one. I love this, man. This is all good. So here's what we're gonna do. Let's wrap this back up. Let's give them back the context of 4 types of question. We have this in the show notes, but if you don't mind just sharing those 4 types of questions again.
Yep.
And then what the best way to get a hold of you?
Yeah. 4 questions. Number 1, identify challenges. We talk to XYZ titles all day long. We recognize that even in a perfect world, they tend to struggle in one of 3 key areas, your 3 value props, or the inverse of the tasks, right? If everything stayed the same, but one had to be improved, what would it be? Understand the context. Interesting. What makes you say that? Or why did you pick that one, right? Understand their expertise. So what solutions or strategies have you put in place to solve for those, or to solve for that challenge? And then 4, establish the implications. The best way to think about it is, if everything stayed the same and you didn't solve this challenge, what would that mean for your business? Or if this is the number I can provide, right? If I was able to give you this much back, or this amount of money, or this amount of solution value, would you say no to me? Because if so, we don't need to talk next steps. If you are on board, let's move forward.
Love it, man. And if we want to get a hold of you to connect with you, you gave that free offer. Folks can get connected with you to get those questions customized to them. But if folks want to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to go about connecting with you, Chet?
Yeah, LinkedIn. And you'll also have a fun time seeing my most recent viral post where I said, don't refer to groups of people as guys. I got absolutely roasted. It was like a 50-50 consensus. I also made the front page of LinkedIn lunatics on Reddit and basically got slammed like crazy. So I went viral. I don't know if it's the best kind of viral to have. I'm not asking anybody to bend their political beliefs or values. I'm just asking people to extend a common courtesy. But it was a fun time where, even now I'm still getting comments where people's opinions on it, which is absolutely fun. So that should be fun for you in the least, if not getting some free resources or asking me some questions or asking me to provide you with a free discovery template for your team. Happy to do it.
Well, hope you guys enjoy this. I'm just kidding.
See what you did there. That's a good one.
Chet, love it, man. Well, thank you so much for coming in and playing with us today and sharing some insights, man. Appreciate you, and look forward to seeing more of your content and 15-minute demos, discos.
There we go. Thanks, Donald. Appreciate it.
Hey, that was Chet Lovegren. If you haven't done so already, please go ahead and connect with them on LinkedIn. Tell them that you heard him here on the Sales Evangelist Podcast. Tell them which questions you like or what you think about the whole process. And if you feel that you can say you guys or not. Hey, you guys. Chet, thank you so much for the kind words on this episode today. Thanks so much for the insights that you brought in. And thanks for the just simplicity behind this. And he's giving you a free offer so you can take advantage of that to get those questions adapted to your business and your industry. As always, we want you to thrive and we want you to succeed. We want you to build pipeline, quality opportunities. We want you to close twice as many deals. Most importantly, we want to raise your level of thinking, and we want to help you. So check out our sales mastermind. Get a chance to practice, get a chance to engage, and get a chance to be around other sellers doing the same thing. It's lovely. As always, go out, raise your level of thinking, and do big things. See you in the next one.